President Barack Obama unwittingly stepped in it earlier this week during an Easter speech when he dared to bring up the possibility that a Christian could be anything other than 100% composed of love and compassion and kindness.
On Easter, I do reflect on the fact that as a Christian, I am supposed to love. And I have to say that sometimes when I listen to less than loving expressions by Christians, I get concerned. But that's a topic for another day. Where there is injustice, I was about to veer off. I'm pulling it back.
Yeah, so
we know what he's talking about there, obviously.
You know, it appears he's referring to Indiana and those places where they are pushing laws that would discriminate under the guise of being Christian and religious freedom and all of that. It's funny that it wasn't in his prepared remarks, and he couldn't help but say it a little bit, and then Washington is just filled with consultants. So, of course, they told him, no, don't go in.
You heard someone say, nope.
Yeah, like, not on Easter Sunday, then they'll go after you. I mean, even for that half a sentence, the consultants were right.
Yeah.
Here comes Fox News.
Yeah, on this holiday where we are memorializing Jesus Christ, don't be influenced by the example he provided. Don't protect those who are less well off than you. So, of course, this has come under an incredible amount of scrutiny. He cut himself off there, but not early enough for some people. Here you're going to see Megyn Kelly speaking with Tony Perkins about, as you saw in that little lower third there, the fact that he did not bring up the killings in Kenya.
Nevertheless, his remarks come as Christians are increasingly being targeted by terrorists worldwide. Remember, it was just last week that more than 140 people died at the hands of Islamic terrorists at a university in Kenya. Witnesses say the killers specifically singled out Christians for execution. In February, the world was horrified as 21 Egyptian Christians were marched to their deaths in Libya, forced to kneel down before they had their throats slit. Yet the White House chose to identify these victims at the time as Egyptian citizens. All this comes as the Pope becomes increasingly vocal about the plight of Christians being targeted for their faith, repeatedly warning the world this Easter weekend not to turn a blind eye to the atrocities being committed.
Why is the president not the Pope?
Why is he not the Pope, and why is every speech not about this horrific terrorist attack?
So what's she doing here? President Obama gave a speech. Why wasn't it about the topics I'd love to cover?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So, Easter with the bunnies and all the love and are Christians loving? Yeah. No, let's talk about how the Muslims are murdering Christians and we've got to fight back.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, look, he didn't mention autonomous cars. I didn't get pissy about it. He doesn't always talk about the things that are interesting to us. And look, I get it that the Pope did talk about it, and the Pope should talk about it, obviously. He represents Christians around the world, or at the very least Catholics around the world. Anytime the mainstream media, especially Fox News, gives 1/2 of a damn what's happening in Africa, that's a win for the world. Generally, they don't care. In this case, they care because the victims horrifically were Christians. That makes them care. Normally, they don't give a damn what happens to any sort of person in Africa, Christian, Muslim, whatever. But there's a huge, we've got some Tony Perkins soon, but there's a huge amount of inconsistency here because she wants them identified as Christians when they're the victims of terrorism, but you can bet your ass she would not want them identified as Christians if they are the perpetrators of terrorism, as in the American domestic context, they often are. She doesn't want them identified there. And the fact that in Kenya, and in some other places in the world, Muslim terrorists are killing Christians means for her that Christians here in America need special protections. But for some reason, the fact that 99% of the people being killed around the globe by Islamic terrorists are Muslims does not to her then lead to Muslims needing special protections inside of America. For her, it actually leads to them needing special scrutiny inside of America. But somehow she fits all those things inside of her mind.
And when al-Shabaab attacked the Christians in Kenya, those poor kids in the university were powerless. Here in America, it's not the same power dynamic. Christians are in charge, including our president.
Including on her network.
Right, and including the president that's giving a speech about how he's a Christian, and you're saying, well, I don't like it because you should have represented Christians even more.
Yeah.
So al-Shabaab didn't come to Oklahoma and attack. We're not like, oh no, Al-Shabaab, what's Al-Shabaab going to do? They rule over us. What are they going to do?
They attacked a minority group.
Right. It's a different dynamic. But all this is like, okay, you didn't like that he didn't mention it. That's like your opinion, man. Like, so, but to me, the more interesting part is when it gets to how this saps us, us good Christians of morale. I'm going to get to that in a second, but first, Tony Perkins, right?
On Friday, 150 students in Kenya killed, separated, Muslims, Christians separated, the Christians were killed. The White House didn't acknowledge that. And I think there's a reason the president doesn't want to talk about this persecution of Christians, because in part his policies are responsible. The growing hostility toward Christianity here at home is fostering an environment where tyrants and terrorists feel free to kill people, to kill Christians because of their faith.
Well, no, I mean, don't you think that's taking it a bit too far? I mean, President Obama, he's not exactly out there defending, the Christians in Indiana and elsewhere who have sincerely held religious beliefs, and that's a difficult issue. But to say that his policies are leading to the murders of Christians.
I am saying that his policies are fostering an environment in which tyrants and terrorists feel that America no longer places a high priority on religious freedom and the protection of the oppressed. And in that shadow that he has cast with these policies, we see more and more Christians being persecuted, their lives taken from them in faraway places. You cannot escape the fact that what America does has consequences elsewhere.
So what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to go declare war on any country or any entity that attacks Christians? Are we the defender of Christians throughout the world? Right?
So he would love that.
Yeah, but that's not the job of America, right? Now, the president speaks out when those attacks happen. He did. And he did. He just doesn't say it every single day in every single speech, so you hate him for it, right? But reality is what you want him to attack, right? But who are we going to attack? The attack happened in Kenya. Kenya's on our side. What do you want him to go bomb Kenya? You want him to go bomb Somalia?
It's a terrorist group in Kenya.
Right. And so what are we going to do? We're going to go land in the middle of Somalia and try to root out Al-Shabaab? I mean, that's what you want us to do? Look, we're distraught anytime Christians are killed, the Shia are killed, Sunnis are killed, anybody's killed. But it's not our job to be the Christian police throughout the world, or the Sunni police or the Shia police, right? So what do you want to go do? Take a couple of Black Hawks and go into Somalia? I've seen that movie.
We've done that before.
I've literally seen that movie before.
It's a sequel.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that they're saying there, like, dude, during your Easter speech, you did not defend Christians enough. You need to be the perfect defender of all Christians, as we continue to imply heavily on every one of our broadcasts that you are in fact a Muslim.
All right, and finally, we go to Megyn Kelly about how this is dispiriting Christians. I love this. Let's watch.
I mean, the question is whether those comments do real damage, not just to morale among Christians about what their own president thinks of them, but to the enemy. You know, not paving the way for an argument that he's causing deaths, but that they feel he won't stand up for Christians who are under threat.
Look, in a nation where almost 80% of people, America, identify as Christian, to have a president that is continually dismissive of Christianity, there is no question that sends a message to bad people in places far away that will do bad things as a result.
Really fast. Imagine a dictator in Africa saying, "Did you just hear? They made a baker make a cake for a gay wedding? Round up the Christians." That is insanity. And the thing he said, we just played it a couple of minutes ago. He said, sometimes they say things that are not loving. That's the huge criticism that you guys can't weather, that your addled minds can't work through. He said, sometimes you say things that are not 100% awesome and perfect. Is that not true? You guys are conservative Christians. You don't like everything liberal Christians say in America. Does that mean that you are opening the way for horrific attacks against Christians throughout Earth?
It's like a warlike analogy, like, oh, the troops need morale, right? Because what they're implying throughout the whole segment is, we're in a crusade. It's Christians versus Muslims. The president won't say it. Why won't he stand up for Americans who are Christians? They said 80% of the country is Christian. She said earlier, why won't he represent us, right? Like, there was an implication in her speech that all Americans are Christians, right? Okay, fine. You don't want to say all,
yeah.
but that's what Americans are.
Yeah.
We're the Christians. They're the Muslims. You're supposed to be our leader. You're supposed to hate them. You're supposed to, and if you don't hate them enough, I lose morale and I get down and just want to cuddle in a blanket and watch a movie.
Well, that sounds good.
Instead of being on a war path that I should be if I had high morale.
Yeah.
I'm going to say one last thing. None of them believe in their religious text. None of them. None of them are believers. Because if you were a real believer in Christianity, you'd have unbelievable peace of mind. You're going to have heaven for eternity. You would have no morale issues. You'd be like, El Shabab this, El Shabab that. Even if I die, I get permanent bliss, right?
Yeah.
None of you believe. None of you believe. Oh, you think the Muslims are any better? Oh, yeah, Allah this, Allah that. Oh, I have to go defend Allah's honor. He's Allah. What do you need to defend him for? Right? The creator of the universe, you got to go defend. None of the religious people actually believe in any of their texts. They just use it as whatever pretense they like. Some awesome people in the world use it as pretense to do wonderful
To do great
things.
things, yeah.
To help the poor, to help the needy, and to be kind and decent human beings. Some people use it as a pretext for war, fear, and hatred. Gee, I wonder which side Fox News is on.